You've read the manuals, you know the rules, or so you think. But buried in state codes are real laws that could get you fined, arrested, or worse, for riding the wrong way, wearing the wrong gear, or even stalling at the wrong time. No one warned you. Until now. Starting off with Kansas, where you can go to jail for just screeching your tires. You twist the throttle, spin the tire, and let that high-pitched screech echo through the street. Feels good, right? Not in Kansas. That sound alone can get you arrested. Kansas has taken a hard stance on what it calls exhibition of speed, and it treats tire screeching as exhibition of speed. Under this law, intentional tire screeching is considered a criminal offense, punishable not just by a fine, but by license points and even jail time. That puts a burnout in the same legal territory as reckless driving or disturbing the peace. This law isn't just for high-speed burnouts on open roads. Even revving hard in a parking lot can draw attention and citations, especially if an officer thinks you're showing off. In Kansas, the sound of your tires is enough to trigger legal consequences. So next time you're riding Wichita or Topeka and you're tempted to light up the back wheel, ask yourself, is that rubber worth a record? And if you think Kansas is overdoing it, wait until you find out about Virginia's take on motorcycle attire. Next up is catching a felony for riding in costume in Virginia. Wearing a costume on your bike in Virginia might seem harmless, until you realize it could be a felony. The state's anti-mask law prohibits anyone from intentionally covering their face in public. Originally passed to deter criminal disguises, the law now affects motorcycle riders too. That means masks, modified helmets, theatrical makeup, or even high-riding bandanas can put you in legal trouble. Unless you're wearing a standard DOT-compliant full-face helmet, you could be stopped, questioned, and charged with a Class 6 felony, the same level as credit card theft or assault. This isn't just about Halloween or cosplay. If law enforcement believes you're concealing your identity, your Joker mask, or Star Wars-themed helmet might result in an arrest. Think that's over the top? In Ohio, even running out of gas can get you in trouble. Number 3, run out of gas. That's a ticket in Youngstown, Ohio. Running out of fuel is frustrating, but in Youngstown, Ohio, it can also be illegal. The city's municipal code has a rule most riders don't know. If your motorcycle stalls due to lack of fuel and ends up obstructing traffic, you can be cited for failing to maintain control of a vehicle. It doesn't matter if you were just around the corner from a gas station. If your bike dies in a busy intersection, you've technically broken the law. The first offense might be a small fine, but repeat the mistake within 12 months and it escalates into something more serious, especially if it causes a traffic jam or accident. This one isn't about reckless riding, it's about planning. And in Youngstown, forgetting to fuel up could end with a ticket and points on your license. Now, if you think that's rough, try popping a wheelie in Maine. Number 4, wheelies equals criminal charges in Maine. In Maine, lifting your front wheel off the pavement, even a few inches, can legally count as a criminal act. State statute Title 29A, Section 2413 classifies wheelies as driving to endanger, a charge on par with reckless driving. And it doesn't matter if you stuck the landing. Performing stunts on public roads puts other drivers at risk. At least, that's how Maine law sees it. Get caught, and you could face a Class E criminal charge, a suspended license, and up to 6 months in jail. Even worse, if the move causes injury, that charge could be upgraded to Class D or higher. So if you want to show off, do it on private land or at a closed event. Because in Maine, your moment of glory could turn into a criminal record. So you've kept your wheelies in check. Good. Now, make sure your face shield isn't the next thing that gets you ticketed after dark. Number 5. Tinted visors are illegal at night in California, New York, Illinois. You might love that blackout visor during golden hour, but ride with it after sunset and you're breaking the law in several states. In places like California and New York, laws mandate that motorcycle helmets worn at night must have clear or lightly tinted visors, all in the name of visibility. Police officers aren't guessing here. If you're riding with a dark visor after sunset, they're trained to stop you. The justification? Reduced visibility increases your risk of accidents, and in their eyes, that makes you a hazard. Even if you're a skilled rider, that split second where you miss a pothole or fail to read a sign could be all it takes. Riders often forget to switch visors at dusk or assume it's no big deal. But in these states, forgetting could cost you, both in fines and in safety. Photochromic visors that adjust to light are a workaround, but they don't always switch fast enough to keep you legal. In California, this falls under Vehicle Code Section 27802. Speaking of visibility, what happens when your formation and visibility is too perfect? In some states, even how you ride with your crew can break the law. Next up, number 6. Side-by-side riding is banned in Arkansas and Montana. Cruising two abreast looks cinematic, but in certain states, it's flat-out illegal. Arkansas and Montana have laws stating that motorcycles must ride in a staggered or single-file formation, not side-by-side. The idea, visibility, reaction time, and space to maneuver. Even during slow parade-style rides, if a trooper sees you hugging the same lane as your buddy, you could be cited. It's a surprising twist given how normalized this is elsewhere, but these laws prioritize safety over social flair. That means formation riding requires knowing the local law, not just group etiquette. Tour across state lines and forget this, you might roll into trouble. So while it might feel right to ride shoulder to shoulder in Arkansas and Montana, the law insists on distance, even between friends. In Texas, Georgia, and Arizona, license plates must be lit by a white light whenever the bike is running. Speaking of visibility, even your license plate light has to follow strict rules. Number 7, white license plate light required in Texas, Georgia, Arizona. You spent hours getting the lighting just right on your bike. Underglow, turn signals, LED strips. But if your license plate light isn't white, you could get pulled over. In states like Texas, Georgia, and Arizona, motorcycle license plates must be illuminated by a steady white light, visible from at least 50 feet. The law exists to help law enforcement identify bikes at night, and it's strictly enforced. Colored LEDs, flashing lights, hidden or obscured placement, all grounds for a ticket. Some riders even remove the light entirely for aesthetic reasons. That's a fast track to a citation. And in states like Texas, the light must be on whenever the bike is running, not just at night. This is one of those small things that gets overlooked, until the blue lights flash behind you. For just a few bucks and a quick install, it's a fix that can keep your bike legal and your ride uninterrupted. In Texas, Georgia, and Arizona, license plates must be lit by a white light whenever the bike is running. Lighting is one thing, but in some places, your eyewear could be the problem. Let's talk about goggles. Number 8, eye protection required, even with windshield in New York and Minnesota. You've got a big touring bike with a giant windshield. Surely that's enough, right? Not in these states. In New York and Minnesota, riders are legally required to wear shatter-resistant eye protection regardless of whether their bike has a windshield. The idea is simple. Windshields don't block everything. Small rocks, insects, dust, and even high-speed air can still impair vision. And at highway speeds, that's dangerous. This law means you'll need shatterproof goggles, visors, or approved riding glasses anytime you hit the road. Regular sunglasses may not count, especially if they're not impact resistant. In some states, police are trained to check, especially during traffic stops involving speed or lane changes. So don't assume your fairing gives you a pass. This isn't just about personal safety, it's a ticketable offense. And it's often enforced during group rides, safety campaigns, or large biker events. Windshield or not, riders in New York and Georgia must wear legally approved eye protection. Even in places like Minnesota, it's a ticketable offense to ride without ANSI Z 87.1 rated eyewear. Want to test just how strict your state is? Try pulling over with a passenger and no pegs, and watch what happens next. Number 9, passenger foot. Pegs is required to carry passengers in California, Florida. Want to take someone on the back of your bike? In California and Florida, this equipment is not just for balance or comfort, it's about legal equipment. Both states require that if you're carrying a passenger, your motorcycle must have passenger foot pegs installed. And no, it doesn't matter if your passenger actually uses them. The law says they must be there, or you can be fined. This catches a lot of casual riders off guard, especially those who've customized their bikes or stripped them down for aesthetic reasons. If you pick up a friend or partner for even a short cruise and your bike isn't factory equipped or retrofitted with rear pegs, you're in violation of state code. Some officers are lenient, others will treat it like a safety hazard. And if your bike also lacks a designated second seat, you could be facing 2 citations in one stop. And while your passenger's feet need to stay put, so do yours. Shift mid-ride and you might be breaking the law. Number 10, improper foot position can lead to a citation, California, Texas. Stretch your leg, adjust your boot. In California and Texas, even a casual foot reposition can cross the legal line. These states consider your foot placement a matter of vehicle control. When your feet aren't on the pegs while the bike is in motion, officers can and do issue citations under improper operation or unsafe control statutes. Why? Because the law assumes your feet need to be ready for braking, shifting, or stabilizing the bike at all times. Riders taking their feet off momentarily to stretch, cool off, or adjust position are technically giving up control, and for enforcement, even 1 second is enough. This hits long-distance riders hardest. If you're on the highway for hours, it's natural to shift your legs, but in traffic, an officer only has to see it once. In Texas and California, taking your feet off the pegs while in motion can be considered a traffic violation. And if you thought switching to a trike would make things simpler, think again. In some states, you'll need a whole new license. Moving on to law number 11, separate license is required for trikes and sidecars in California. You'd think riding a three-wheeled motorcycle in California is a loophole. It isn't. It's a separate legal category. To operate a trike or a bike with a sidecar, you'll need a Class M3 license, not the standard M1. The reason is control. Trikes don't lean like regular bikes. They steer differently, accelerate differently, and require their own training. The DMV sees them closer to small cars than motorcycles, and the licensing reflects that. If you're caught operating a trike with just a regular motorcycle endorsement, that's an instant ticket and could get your ride impounded during a checkpoint. What makes this even more confusing is how many riders don't know the distinction. Motorcycle dealerships sometimes let customers ride off on trikes without clarifying the licensing requirement until the law catches up with them on the street. In California, you need a separate M3 license to legally operate trikes and motorcycles with sidecars. But watch out. Even if you have a trike license, how you earned it could lock you out of riding two-wheelers entirely. Number 12. Testing on a trike locks you out of two-wheelers in multiple states. You might think passing your motorcycle test on a trike is just an easier route to your endorsement, but in many US states, that test result comes with a serious restriction. If you take your motorcycle skills test on a three-wheeled bike, your license will often be marked as trike only. That means you're not legally allowed to operate a two-wheeled motorcycle, even if you think you're fully capable. Why? Because two-wheelers and trikes handle completely differently. States like California, Texas, and Pennsylvania require separate exams for each class. And once your license is issued with a restriction code, changing it requires scheduling a new test on a two-wheeled bike, not just filling out a form. Plenty of new riders get caught by this after buying a Can-Am or similar vehicle. They ride for years, then try to hop on a regular motorcycle, and suddenly discover they're not licensed to do so. In multiple US states, testing on a trike means you're only licensed to ride three-wheelers unless retested. Number 13. Riding on the shoulder is legal in Minnesota. You're stuck in standstill traffic. Your engine's heating up. Your clutch hand is cramping, and the shoulder's just sitting there, wide open. In most states, jumping onto it would earn you a reckless driving ticket. But in Minnesota, that shoulder might just be your legal escape route. Minnesota's bus-only shoulder use program is one of the few in the US that allows motorcycles to ride on designated highway shoulders during congestion. But before you twist the throttle and dart off, there are rules. First, it must be a shoulder specifically engineered for traffic use, meaning marked, posted, and structurally reinforced. Second, you can only use it during heavy traffic slowdowns, and even then, you must obey posted shoulder speed limits, which are typically 35 miles per hour or less. Minnesota law allows motorcycles to ride on select highway shoulders, but only at low speeds and only during congested traffic. Abuse this freedom, and you'll not only get a fine, you might jeopardize the entire program for other riders. So follow the signs, literally. Think that's a sweet loophole? Just wait until you learn where motorcycles can legally park next, on the sidewalk. Number 14. Sidewalk parking. Allowed in some cities like San Francisco. In most of the US, parking your motorcycle on a sidewalk is an instant ticket. But in San Francisco, it's not only tolerated, it's legal in certain zones. City parking regulations make room for motorcycles to park on sidewalks as long as pedestrian access isn't blocked. That means your bike must be parallel to the curb, leave enough space for foot traffic, and avoid obstructing ramps or entryways. This rule came about as a way to reduce traffic congestion and free up curb space. Given that motorcycles take up a fraction of the room of a car, it made sense to allow limited sidewalk use in dense areas. But here's the catch. the law only applies within specific city limits and often varies block by block. In some neighborhoods, it's allowed. Cross the street, and suddenly you're in violation. San Francisco allows motorcycles to park on sidewalks, but only if they don't block pedestrian paths or access points. But sometimes, it's not where you park that matters, it's what you're wearing. Or not wearing. Moving on to number 15. Helmet is not required if insured in places like Florida, Pennsylvania. In most of the country, no helmet means no ride. But Florida and Pennsylvania take a different approach if you're willing to bet on your insurance. In Florida, riders over 21 can legally go helmet-free if they carry at least $10,000 in medical insurance coverage. Pennsylvania has a similar rule if you're over 21 and have either 2 years of riding experience or completed a safety course. You're not legally required to wear a helmet, but the fine print catches many riders off guard. That insurance must be verifiable. If you're pulled over and can't prove coverage, you're in violation. And if you're involved in an accident while helmetless, that insurance could be the only thing standing between you and financial ruin. Tourists and new riders often misinterpret the rule, assuming they're covered under general policies. But without documentation or specific motorcycle coverage, they're gambling. In Florida and Pennsylvania, riding without a helmet is legal, but only with qualifying insurance or training. And speaking of freedom on the road, there's one controversial move that's fully legal in California and spreading fast. Number 16, lane splitting is legal or tolerated in places like California, Utah, Arizona. Lane splitting, riding between cars in slow or stopped traffic, is one of the most hotly debated motorcycle practices in the US. In most states, it's considered reckless, but in California, it's completely legal. The California Vehicle Code explicitly allows motorcyclists to filter between lanes of traffic under safe conditions. The California Highway Patrol even publishes safety tips on how to do it correctly. Utah and Arizona have similar, but more limited laws. In Utah, lane filtering is allowed when traffic is stopped, and the motorcyclist must stay under 15 miles per hour. Arizona passed a similar measure, permitting filtering between stopped cars on roads with a posted speed limit of 45 miles per hour or less. The benefits includes fewer rear-end collisions, smoother traffic flow, and reduced overheating. But the danger is still real, especially in states where drivers aren't expecting it. California is the only state where lane splitting is fully legal. Utah and Arizona allow restricted forms of lane filtering. Number 17. In some states, you can legally run a red light on a motorcycle. You're sitting at a red light, no cars, no movement, no green. Just you, stuck in limbo. But in states like Minnesota, Illinois, and Missouri, there's a little-known escape hatch. You're allowed to run that red, legally. Here's why. Most traffic signals rely on sensors embedded in the road to detect vehicles, but motorcycles are often too light to trigger them. You could sit there forever, unless the law gives you a break. In Minnesota, if the light clearly isn't changing, you're allowed to proceed after a full stop and a reasonable wait, typically around 120 seconds. Illinois and Missouri have similar laws, but here's the catch. You must treat the light like a malfunction. That means look both ways, yield, and only move when it's safe. Screw it up, and it's reckless driving. Motorcyclists in Minnesota, Illinois, and Missouri can proceed through a red light if it fails to detect them, but only after waiting and confirming it's safe. Some laws embrace technology. Others throw you back to the basics, like one ancient method of communication you're still required to master. Number 18. In some states, hand signals are still legally required. Turn signals may look high-tech, but in some states, your hands still do the talking, by law. In North Carolina, it's not just recommended, it's required. If your turn indicators malfunction, you must use hand signals to show your intentions. The same goes for Vermont, where the law explicitly demands that hand gestures substitute any broken or missing signals. Idaho takes a slightly softer stance, encouraging hand signals when visibility is limited or equipment fails. But the expectation is the same. Your arms are part of your toolkit. And here's the twist. It's not just a safety suggestion. If you're pulled over and your indicators aren't working and you didn't signal with your hand, you can be ticketed. These laws may seem like relics from another era, but they're still on the books and still enforced. Riders in North Carolina, Vermont, and Idaho are required, or strongly expected, to use hand signals if turn indicators aren't working. Hand gestures may help you move forward, but in some cities, just trying to move at all can land you in trouble. Number 19. Some parkways in New York City are completely off-limits to motorcycles. Think you can ride your motorcycle anywhere in the Big Apple? Think again. In New York City, entire roads, like the Henry Hudson Parkway, are completely off-limits to motorcycles. You could be rolling smoothly along the west side, only to spot a sign, "Passenger cars only." If you're on two wheels, that sign applies to you. No exceptions. Why? These bans date back decades, when the city wanted to minimize noise, restrict high-risk vehicles, and reduce accidents on high-speed urban roads. And it's not just one parkway. Other restricted roads include the Brooklyn-Queens Expressway's elevated portions and some segments of the FDR Drive. The worst part? Many riders don't even realize it's illegal until they're being pulled over. It might feel unfair. You've got insurance, a license, the works, but the law treats you like you're not even allowed to be there. Motorcycles are banned from parkways like the Henry Hudson Parkway in NYC, even when properly registered and insured. And while some roads are off limits, your own bike can be illegal, not for speed or size, but for how high your handlebars sit. Wrapping up the secret motorcycle laws up with number 20. If your handlebars are too tall, your bike is illegal. Customization is a big part of motorcycle culture. It might look cool, but in some states, your handlebars could be illegal, even if your bike looks showroom ready. In Mississippi, if your motorcycle's handlebars are more than 10 inches above the seat, it's illegal. Texas says they can't go above shoulder height while seated. And Nebraska caps the limit at 15 inches above the mounting point. Why, you might ask? Well, lawmakers claim it's about control. The higher your hands, the worse your balance, and the longer it takes to react. But to many riders, this just feels like overreach. Ape hangers and custom builds are a huge part of biker culture, so these laws cut straight through that aesthetic and straight into your wallet if you're caught. Getting pulled over for illegal handlebars can mean a citation, bike inspection, or worse, even impoundment in strict states like Texas. So measure twice, customize smart, and remember, what looks badass in the garage might get you sidelined on the street. Mississippi, Texas, and Nebraska all restrict how high motorcycle handlebars can sit, typically measured in inches above the seat or shoulders. What's the weirdest motorcycle law you've ever run into? Drop it in the comments. And if you've ever gotten a ticket for one of these, we want to hear that too. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more untold motorcycle stories.